Greetings, this is Bruce Ruby, the Nostalgia Catholic, with yet another Isaac Asimov short story. And this one, for the first time in a bit of a while, though it's in the boy's life, is not one of the Larry the Detective series, but rather a little tale called Hallucination. So, it's listed here, part 1. Has the blurb. I'll just read the blurb. Their eyes had played tricks on them, they told Sam, but his better not do the same or his space career was over, by Isaac Asimov. This is actually a 3-parter. So the first part was in the February 1985 issue of Boy's Life. Let's see that. Alright. Next was in the March 1985. And the third that was in the April 1985. Wow, this really took a while to get through. So we got a new character. Sam Chase is the main protagonist. He said they've got a planet orbiting a neutron star with all the volume and mass of our sun compressed into about a 10-mile or 10-foot, diameter neutron star. And so you got stuff crazily, rapidly in orbit around it. So this artwork here is pretty good. I like this. That's Hallucination, Part 1. There's our Sam Chase. He's already college age, so he's a little beyond Larry the Detective. So whether this is for young people or not, I'll put the same category as the the previous non-Larry the Detective story about these creatures that fly. Okay, because it was also kind of an encounter between a human young guy. So Sam Chase arrived on this place. He gets a little introduction to this sort of a space platform and space station, and he gets introduces himself soon to the outside on this planet. That's an alien planet. It seems to be harmless to humans, but on the other hand, not obviously of economic use. It's got kind of grass. There's little yellow berries that you can't eat. There's these weird insect-like things. But there's no fish in the stream. There's no cows until he sees a cow. And I guess my only surprise is it isn't purple. We have a little blurb. Let's see. The first page, it says, their base planet in space appeared to be pleasant. A vision of loveliness. But could Sam trust the vision, or was it too good to be true? Illustrated by Roy Anderson. Okay, well, we've seen the first one. I like that. Some of that space hardware looks, I don't know, fairly realistic, all said and told. And then here you get more of, is that a cow in there? And, there's the guy himself. Sam Chase. Oh, yeah. Just barely make out his name label there. Chase. That's his last name. Sam Chase. We have another blurb on the very next page. The warning was there. It wouldn't be good for Sam to show interest in the reported illusions. Still, he was going to chance it and find out what was going on. Because you see people go to this planet and you get these weird hallucinations. Well, you got him at first, then you didn't hear about them. And he's out there picnicking or something on this nice planet, and he sees a cow. There aren't any cows. Where did this cow come from? Well, it's not totally there. If you look carefully, you can actually kind of see through the cow, and there's some of the trees showing through the cow. The cow isn't really there, obviously. Turn to page 72 to get the tail end of the story. Let's see if there's any artwork. Maybe a little quote. Something blurb and quote. Okay. Nope. Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. A thin smoke in the air between him and the hedges waved and billowed. He blinked his eyes, shook his head, but it was still there. The smoke grew thick and took on a shape. It looked like a cow. Okay. Is it like cow? Cow. So he's out there exploring these hallucinations. See, he's got kind of the wrong background for this sort of thing. This is supposed to be a planet, it's a neutron star. We're discovering how to extract power from a neutron star to power that provide energy for everybody. And in the next issue, we get the next part. So he's out there seeing this cow. All right. Hallucination Part 2, page 30, and it says Sam had begun to see things on the base planet. Could he communicate with those things too? Ah, he's just trying to communicate with them, so that's kind of neat. So, Part 2. Sam knew nothing was wrong with his mind. He knew even as the cow changed into a person. Well, our next illustration. This is weird. The cow has changed into a see-through, not really completely there copy of himself. It can look like him and kind of it learns to move sort of like him. Didn't do so at first, which sounds like an interesting thing if they wanted to try to film or something. But eventually learns how to move like an ordinary human being, even though it's not totally substantially there, but okay. It had a nice little synopsis of what we had in the first part, so we can actually kind of hear the story. Sam Chase, 15, has arrived on Energy Planet. What do they call it, Energy Planet? Wow, okay, nope. As part of his education, he is to participate in developing a method for obtaining useful energy from a nearby neutron star. Sam's real interest, however, is in the human brain, and so he is particularly interested when he hears that people sometimes experience hallucinations when they venture outside the dome in which they live and work. In addition, the commander of the project is seriously depressed. Sam gets permission to venture outside the dome, where the planet's native life forms seem to consist solely of rich vegetation and tiny insect-like animals. It seems unnatural to him that there are no large animals on the planet, and at once a smoky, insubstantial figure of a cow appears before him. He is having a hallucination. That's the name. Well, it's more than just a hallucination that people had. They were less and less because basically nobody wanted to admit to having hallucinations because, there's something wrong with you, you know? I keep seeing things, Right now I see the computer. I'm recording this. Must be my imagination. That's not what we meant. Okay, so there's another page, some text and the blurbs. But the story continues. It turns into himself, and he actually begins talking to this sort of a being or something. He's not sure what it is, but he's decided it's not just his mind going crazy or something. There's really something happening. Then the third part, and this one carries on page 24 of the April edition, part 3. That Sam had to count on little things coming together to save the project, the planet, the commander. Oh, yes, and his career, too. And his career. All right. So, page 24. So, having figured out, they have a message. Well, you guys are really coming and taking over. We can see you have a history of doing stuff like this. We don't want to be threatening because we know you probably attack us. But at the same time, you're bothering our existence here. We're not very happy with it. And it would be nice if you could please leave, or at least don't do any more. Maybe leave off something, So now we get to part 3, hallucination. Once again, there's a blurb. Here's some artwork. We'll see. Sam is trying to explain to this guy at the back inside the dome there on the planet. So we moved from the space station to the dome. Actually, I think the dome was the space station. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. And he has a little satchel full of some of these little insect-like things. Apparently, what they do is they fly together and kind of join forces and become like an intelligence that in some way represents the intelligence of the planet. I don't know. I'm seeing a little bit of something sort of like Gaia, because it all kind of seems to think together like a unit, but only when the insects come together, so it's a little different that way. But the insects can actually create sort of the form of something, like you see bugs hovering in the air, and sometimes there's a whole bunch, because there's like a cloud of them. You can just imagine that getting a little bit more depth and taking on the form of something you recognize. Well, let's see what the blurb says. And it says, to convince his superiors he wasn't mentally unstable, that what he had seen was real, Sam had to get to the commander and show him the proof. So, he does show some proof. If Sam left, his future, the commander's mental health, the energy project, and maybe even the planet were doomed. So, it's pretty important here. Fortunately, the commander is somebody who will ultimately allow himself. Harry is still trying to persuade him. And then here, I guess, is the picture of sort of a bird-like being. Hexagonals kind of applies something like bees come from sort of thing, so insect implication. Anyway, and we have yet an even bigger synopsis in the first two parts. Sam Chase, 15, has arrived on Energy Planet. As part of his career training, he is to help in a project devoted to obtaining useful energy from a nearby neutron star. Sam is more interested, however, in the human brain, and so he is particularly interested when he hears that people sometimes experience hallucinations when they go outside the dome in which they live and work. In addition, the commander of the project is seriously depressed. Yeah, that's also brought out in the first, as a rumor he heard on Earth before he left to go to this place. Sam gets permission to venture outside the dome, where the planet's native life forms seem to consist solely of rich vegetation and tiny insect-like animals. It seems unnatural to him that there are no large animals on the planet, and at once a misty, insubstantial figure of a cow appears before him. It is wrong in detail, and it alters to a human figure closely resembling Sam himself. It seems a hallucination, but Sam is convinced it is not a trick of his mind. He finds himself communicating with the manifestation by thought rather than by language. He discovers that the apparition is a life form of the planet, and that what it wants is a reassurance that Earth people will leave the planet without taking it over or wiping out its native life. Sam promises to help. When he returns to the dome, however, he is told that he was under observation while he was outside, and that he was seen talking to nothing. His superiors say he has experienced a hallucination, and he might be too unstable mentally to continue his education. Great. So his very career stands or falls with his ability to sell the idea that there's aliens here, my hallucinations are real, they don't like us being here on this planet, and they want us to leave. Maybe they might grudgingly tolerate a very tiny station, that where we could use for some reason, but let's basically evacuate ourselves, not bother their planet, leave their planet to them. Got all that, Commander? And the Commander, let's just say, well, this is one of those, I guess that's what makes this historic for young people in this case, because you get one of those happy endings that you virtually never get in real life, where somebody is willing to learn an inconvenient truth from somebody that, to them doesn't seem like a terribly creditable person. Anyway, it happens. It works out, and it's a happy ending, and I kind of liked it. This story, by the way, got collected into the last collection of science fiction of his named Gold. This one, interestingly enough, is not published by Doubleday, but Harper Prism. They printed a companion volume of this a year later called Magic to gather some fantasy type stories he was starting to write towards the end. So he had tried fantasy a little in his early days before he wanted to save anything he wrote is worth saving. Gnomes and wizards or whatever. Whatever it was so forgettable he doesn't even know what any of those stories had ever been. And anyway, he wasn't thinking publication when he wrote them. Now, in his older age, he begins to revisit fantasy, and we'll see some of that in some of the stories to follow. But this is more of a science fiction story. And so, it's kind of interesting to see one that isn't Larry the Detective. But being in Boy's life, so, thanks for reading. Thanks for listening.